Right now on the National Weather Desk, destructive tornadoes. Twisters leave a trail of destruction in North Carolina. Devastating floods. A Kentucky community searches for answers after homes and businesses flood.
It's scary. But there ain't nothing you can do. I mean, what can you do?
Sunburned apples. The intense heat wave takes a toll on the apple crop.
That apple ends up just being no good.
While wildfires burn across Greece as the heat there doesn't let up. We'll see how the weather is impacting Wisconsin's butterfly population.
Warm, dry weather may have an impact on the habitat here.
And one-time pet ducks cause a foul problem in Ohio.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. Buildings damaged, people injured after several tornadoes touched down in North Carolina yesterday. One tornado on the ground for more than 16 miles. The National Weather Service says it was the first EF-3 tornado to ever hit central North Carolina in July, and the damage is breathtaking. This is what 150-mile-per-hour winds can do. A Pfizer plant in pieces. This plant produces anesthesia and other drugs, along with nearly 25% of all sterile injectable medications used in U.S. hospitals right now. All employees got out safely. Pfizer this morning is adding up the damage and also the impact to production. In all, 16 people were injured following the tornado outbreak. 89 buildings are damaged this morning, and I-95 was shut down for several hours because of falling trees. But get this, only 1,000 power customers statewide are in the dark this morning. Let's take you now to Kentucky, where more rain is in the forecast. One day after record downpours flooded many communities, among the hardest hit towns is Mayfield. You can see it right here, a city devastated by a tornado just 2 years ago. Jackie Del Pilar shows us how people are once again trying to restart their lives.
Washed out roads, streets turned into rivers, and pipe systems pushed to their limits as heavy rain brings flash flooding to Mayfield, Kentucky.
It came out here.
Neighbor Gladys Rogers watched as floodwater slowly seeped into her home Wednesday morning. Her floors are now buckling and front fence wiped out.
It's scary. But there ain't nothing you can do. I mean, what can you do?
Gladys and her neighbors are now cleaning up after Mother Nature, something they're all too familiar with following tornadoes in December 2021. The tornadoes killed 57 people and wiped out dozens of homes and businesses.
It just seems like we can't get a break, you know?
But amid disaster, a glimmer of good news. Gladys has a pond full of fish that she thought washed away in the flood. As we spoke with her, a neighbor came by to let us know her fish were alive and well down the street. We followed her a few houses down and, sure enough, found her goldfish swimming in standing water.
Come here.
I helped Gladys scoop the fish out of the water. Easier said than done.
There's two,
We returned the fish safely back to her pond, lifting Gladys's already high spirits.
It doesn't pay to be negative, that's for sure.
She's got a point. That same storm system then moved into West Virginia, but instead of rain, it was the powerful winds that left their mark, leaving behind all damage like this. Most people once again have power this morning, but now there's the threat of more severe weather. Bob Aaron has more.
The weather wasn't playing when it rolled through the Ohio and Kanawha valleys Tuesday and left thousands in our area without power. West Virginia outages peaked around 10,000. Kanawha and Lincoln counties had problems, but the area of Syracuse, Ohio, Racine, Ohio, and across the Ohio River in New Haven, West Virginia, took a major tree flattening hit. Some thought they'd been hit by a tornado, but an inspection team from the National Weather Service determined it was a downburst of wind up to 80 miles per hour that traveled more than 5 miles from Syracuse to Racine and across the river into Mason County, leaving a damage zone about 375 yards wide. Luckily, downed trees were the main victims. Syracuse got a hard hit.
At first it was rain, and then the wind picked up really good, and then the hail came, and then the wind blew hard. And I looked out, I was out on the porch, and it was all sideways. Things were crashing, and everything was just getting tore up.
Neighbor Jeff Hubbard saw wind knock down his pool fence.
Had hail probably about the size of a quarter, and wind blowing
Actually, I come in from two different sides.
The path of damage went on 5.6 miles in 2 states.
And for more on today's severe weather threat and the relentless heat wave that is impacting even more Americans, we turn to meteorologist Brian Vandegraff. Hey, Brian.
Yeah, a lot of folks across the nation experiencing weather. And again, today through portions of eastern Colorado into portions of Kansas, Oklahoma, and even the panhandle of Texas. They're under an enhanced level 3 risk from Lamar over to Dodge City, slight risk from Tulsa west to Denver. And then east side of the United States, we've got a slight to enhanced risk from Detroit, Cleveland, and up to Buffalo, where the biggest threat will be winds and hail, but an isolated tornado too can't be ruled out. Meanwhile, that excessive heat for the desert Southwest and portions of deep Texas. Temperatures this afternoon, 118, it feels like in Phoenix, to 109 to 110 in Dallas. Another scorcher. It continues.
Right. And in Texas, where the Ruby Ranch fire is now under control in Hays County, that's located southwest of Austin. It turns out that sparks from equipment ignited the flames, which ballooned to a 50-acre wildfire that endangered homes. Betty Cross shows us the big help firefighters got.
The Ruby Ranch fire is 90% contained, and experts say one of the reasons why is that the flames over here weren't able to jump the road. It acts as something of a natural fire break, protecting the acreage on this side. 54 acres were charred by the wildfire. Crews patrolled the area, looking for smoke and hot spots.
So we did have a couple homes back here where it bumped right up to the structures themselves.
Fire retardant dropped from 3 single-engine air tankers helped prevent those houses from being damaged or destroyed. The Texas A&M Forest Service says the Ruby Ranch fire was preventable. Someone using equipment sparked the blaze. The high wildfire risk has about 40% of Texas under burn bans. The 102 counties in red, which includes most of Central Texas, have banned outdoor burning of any sort.
Yes, we are seeing burn bans increase statewide as we are continuing to see drought worsen and moistures, not improve. Due to the lack of rainfall and this excessive heat.
In the past week, fire crews across Texas have responded to 52 wildfires that burned 2,000 acres.
And the race is on to get a wildfire in Oregon under control. The Flat Fire has already burned nearly 13,000 acres and is quickly spreading because of dry vegetation and also the winds. Over 500 firefighters are working to put out these flames. More teams and equipment are expected to arrive today. Right now, no evacuation orders are in place, but the national forest surrounding the fire has been closed. And now we're going to turn to what's happening this week. Marks 5 years since Marshalltown, Iowa was ripped apart by an EF-3 tornado. That twister was one of nearly 24 to touch down that day.
Houses are being torn to shreds.
Everybody's phones were blowing up with warnings.
Going down 7th Street!
And we do have a serious weather situation developing out to the west of us tonight.
The tornado sirens went off.
And then it took the turn we didn't want it to, right into Marshalltown.
I told everybody, that was on the phone with me to take cover.
Thunderous roar in here and then dead silence. And to go from one to the other, from the freight train and then the roar to silence.
I mean, unless you've lived through something like this, you don't really understand the magnitude of the devastation and how long it truly takes. So we're making progress. We're going to be okay, but it's going to take time.
We have overcome it and we celebrate it every year because we need to acknowledge it every year to make sure that it is a part of our history now. And it was be ever known as the F3 tornado that came through Marshalltown that made Marshalltown strong.
Well, intense heat is causing problems across southern Europe. In Greece, for example, it's making it more difficult to fight expanding wildfires. The Greek fire service is now battling 3 separate wildfires, including one not far from Athens. Homes and cars have burned. 3 villages and roads were ordered to evacuate. And temperatures could hit 111 degrees this weekend before any relief finally arrives, though, on Monday. And over in France, 9 regions are under heat warnings today. This includes the southeastern part of the country and the island of Corsica and the Mediterranean. Early this week, a new record for high temperatures was set in 9 areas of southern France. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll talk with an expert about new airborne radar that will help improve weather forecasting. And we'll take a look at how weather can impact butterflies. That's next.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We have a nice looking day on tap in the Northeast, probably the nicest of the week. A lot of sun, comfortable temperatures, and lower humidity. Temps will be in the 80s for most towns. At the coastline, we're a little bit cooler thanks to an onshore wind developing. As we go throughout the day, notice a lot of sunshine out there. We're going to keep an eye on this feature to our west. Some of that will bring some showers into the Northeast on Friday. Best chance for a thunderstorm will be in New York. That feature will weaken a bit in New England.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Starting off rain-free for our Thursday morning, but by noontime and beyond, a stalled-out weather maker overhead could create for a spot shower or thunderstorm developing, especially later on in the day. And then a cold front approaches, I think, at night, Thursday night into early Friday, which may lead to some less humidity as we head into the weekend. Till then, increasing humidity and increasing heat likely with high temperatures near 90. That's the scene here.
Good Thursday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Michael Ehrenberg with a look at your southeast regional forecast for this Thursday. Most of the southeast will start with sunshine, some showers and storms moving from the mountains of Tennessee and North Carolina. Looks like Florida will have the normal sea breeze driven showers and storms as we go through the afternoon and also into the early evening hours, with storms in South Carolina moving offshore late in the evening. Hot everywhere, 95 for Atlanta and 98 in Birmingham, and mostly mid to upper 90s for Florida.
The National Weather Desk.
The National Science Foundation is spending $92 million to fund the deployment of a new airborne radar. Emily Gracie recently sat down with the scientists that came up with this idea 20 years ago to find out why this is needed and the types of weather it will be used to track.
An airborne radar basically is a radar placed on the aircraft. So it's like on a mobile platform, and the platform can fly to the area that cannot be reached by ground-based radar. For example, ground-based radar can cover about a distance of 200 kilometers away from any coastline. Ground-based radar also have difficulties to probe storms in the area of complex terrain. For example, in California, the well-known atmospheric rivers typically bringing heavy, severe rainfall in the winter and spring season. And most of those rains will fall in the mountain valley. And ground-based radar will often be blocked.
Okay, so hurricanes and atmospheric rivers. Is there any use for this when it comes to something smaller scale, like severe weather, tornadoes, derechos, or is that too dangerous? Or should we not be flying around and stuff like that?
Well, so we have been doing experiments around those storms. We had experiment to fly around supercells where a tornado formed. We flew in front of the squall line where derecho formed. So we know how to fly those systems in a safe manner.
So this is just kind of in the initial stages now. You've gotten the funding. What is the timeline? I'm guessing this is something we're talking years down the road, potentially in practice?
In 5 years. So the anchor unit will need to be completed by the summer of 2028.
To hear more from Dr. Lee, including the potential partnership airborne radar could have with hurricane hunters, head over to YouTube and search the National Weather Desk. And keep in mind, we are not just on YouTube here. You can find us on all of your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk or scan the QR code on the bottom left corner of your screen to connect with us. Now, we post really a ton of content from our meteorologists across the country. Let's take a look at a recent post from meteorologist Chloe Coast on Instagram about heat and surface temperatures.
Hey everybody, Chloe Coast here. Have you ever thought about how hot some of the surfaces around you might get? Let's check it out. I have my temperature gun with me, and right here on the concrete, it could be as hot as almost 160 degrees. It is so important to know how hot some of these surfaces can get to avoid getting burned during the hot summer months. For families that may be going to the park, you should really be aware of this one too. Temperatures can reach as high as 180 degrees on the slide. We even tested the temperature on some of the steps here, 176 degrees. In the shade on the playset, 139 degrees. The door handles here, 145 degrees. The car dash can reach as high as 173 degrees. We also tested out this metal gate, which reached temperatures of 154 degrees. Shaded grass will find temperatures here in the low 90s.
In Wisconsin, the weather is impacting local butterfly populations. Eric Peterson's in Green Bay with a look at how locals are learning about the insects and how the weather impacts their numbers.
From tiny bees on blossoms to butterflies feeding nearby. Joan Wilkie says the grounds at the Collins Nature Center make a good outdoor classroom.
And we're going to be using nets, and I'll be showing them how to use a net. So we'll be teaching them about catching and releasing and not harming the insect.
Tuesday's morning session includes some bug hunting.
We didn't know what to expect, so it was nice because they love to catch insects.
Janet Turley and her family are visiting from Florida. She says after some practice using the nets,
I think I found one.
The group was able to catch a grasshopper and a small insect called a damselfly. Turley says the exercise is good experience for her and for her children.
Yes, it is absolutely a lesson in nature, a way to be gentle with nature as we're coming into their home. So it's a great for the kids to learn the proper way just to take care of nature and handle it with care.
Joan Wilkie says there are about 20 to 30 different species of butterflies in the area. She says warm, dry weather may have an impact on the habitat here.
You're never sure what you're going to get when you're out in the actual field, but we'll find out. Sometimes we've had really good luck, and sometimes butterflies just aren't active.
She says any appearance from this familiar flyer is tough to top.
Butterflies just have a gentle beauty about them that the children and the families love.
A foul problem in Cincinnati is catching people's attention. Pet ducks are getting dumped at local ponds. Marella Porter spoke with a man who is hoping to save these birds, but he also wants to bring awareness to what he believes is a growing problem of people releasing pets into the wild.
A bunch of these ducks aren't like the others.
People see ducks at the park all the time. They don't know that these domestic ducks can't survive like those wild ducks.
Flocking to his handful of feed, Jimmy Longbottom says this picturesque scene isn't as serene as it seems.
They're running right to you like they ran to me today because they are hungry. These are larger birds. They need different nutrition than wild ducks. So they are starving out here, even if they look like they're having a good time.
Longbottom says he's noticed more and more domestic ducks popping up all across the west side. Here at the pond at Delhi Park, he's counted up to 30, and Longbottom believes people are dumping them, which is illegal.
I've seen 5 different domestic duck breeds here at this park. Most of these ducks, if not all of them, are months old, which would line up with Easter, which is the big duckling holiday around here.
The township has noticed them too.
A lot of people who have reached out to me about the ducks at Delhi Park say they have witnessed people dumping ducks here at Delhi Park.
Longbottom's rescue may be their only hope.
Domestic ducks can live to be 12 years old. That's a long time, and giving them a happy, healthy life for that duration is something that we try and do at the Longbottom Bird Ranch.
Dozens of birds call the ranch home. Longbottom works with parks departments and businesses across the region, educating people on domestic ducks to keep them from ending up in places like this. Longbottom says they're tough to care for.
They were not intended to be pets to begin with. They were bred for farmers to use as meat ducks.
So they're bigger, developing smaller wings, making them sitting ducks for predators and Mother Nature.
They can flap their wings and maybe glide a little bit, but they're not going to get up in the air and head south for the winter.
And time now for a short break, but first we take flight above Prince Gallitzin State Park in Pennsylvania.
Good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael taking a look at your weather story across the Midwest. We have scattered thunderstorms. Some of these could become a little strong across the Ohio Valley for the day today, but it is cooler. Highs in the lower 80s or 79 there across the northern plains. Pretty quiet for most of the Midwest on Friday. We do have some storms and some showers down across Kansas and the southern part of the Midwest, and pretty quiet on Saturday as well. Temperatures, though, starting to warm up a little bit for us heading into the weekend.
Hi, meteorologist Chris Uche. Look at your forecast across the region. Another very hot and dry day with temperatures in the 90s and exceeding 100 degrees. And Thursday, the only real rain chance we do get is the North Texas Panhandle across Oklahoma late day. Another cluster of some thunderstorms will develop. Look at those temperatures again, 90s to 100. 105, 106 degrees. There you see in the evening a few of these storms rumbling into Friday morning toward Little Rock.
Phoenix, Arizona, Wednesday morning, 97 degrees. That was good enough for an all-time record warm, low temperature for the date. And now we're looking at daytime highs on Thursday to easily surpass 110 degrees. In fact, Phoenix, 118. That's going to surpass the daily high temperature record easily by 4 degrees. But while that hot high pressure is in place, we're going to see daytime thunderstorms bubble up, which could cool the air. But these could be strong storms from Pueblo, Colorado to Dodge City, Kansas Thursday. That's with weather from here.
Well, triple-digit temperatures have many of us sweating, and apples are feeling it too. Some apples are getting sunburned, causing the fruit to be brown and become mushy. Kristen Drummond has the details.
They get sunburned right here on the top. The ones underneath are better.
And if they've been sunburned, how does that impact the crop?
So that apple ends up just being no good.
A spoil of the summer sun and causing Gilcrease Orchard Director Mark Rubin to lose about 10% of his yield each year.
But apples are really one of the most difficult crops to grow when it's this hot.
Apple trees cover about 4 acres here.
So those are some Galas, some Brayburn. Here's some Granny Smiths again.
Reuben drives me around to look at the crop and the other produce on property, including tomatoes.
You'll get a big old white spot. It just like burns a hole in the tomato. Tomatoes and apples are really the worst.
Part of the challenge is with triple-digit temperatures, but to try and combat it, Reuben plans to add a shade canopy in the future.
You can feel it just being in the shade here, how much cooler it is, but also we don't have the sunburn problems.
And if you're looking for more great weather content, check out our podcast, Off the Radar. New episodes drop every Tuesday. You can find Off the Radar wherever you get your podcasts. And thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow on the National Weather Desk, we'll find out why for some trees the sun can be a bad thing. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Thursday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.